Welcome to Legend Makers, the podcast where education's true heroes take center stage. All right, we are back with another episode of the Legend Makers podcast. I have with me today Yenesis Alvarez. How you doing, Yenesis?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to talking with you. It's been great. I've been watching you on LinkedIn. I'm going to give you a little bit of bio. You're going to fill in the gaps, okay? You're an educator. You're an entrepreneur. You're an innovation leader. Here's the thing. You're really committed to transforming schools into engines of economic mobility and entrepreneurship. And I really want to get into that because I think that's going to be really interesting for the people listening. And especially, though, for Hispanic and minority students. You're also the founder of this thing called Business Food Lab. We're going to dive into that. That's a student-run enterprise. You're generating over $80,000 in revenue. You've got 60 plus students managing marketing, finance, AI workflows, logistics, point of sale systems, and vendor partnerships. I'm sure there's a lot of other things that aren't in that list. You integrate AI automation, entrepreneurship. I love this project-based learning and advanced business operations into a scalable school model. All right, so that's the bio that I have. You tell us who's Yenesis and introduce everybody to yourself. This is going to be cool.
Well, thank you so much for that intro. Very powerful. As you said, my name is Yenesis. I'm 26 years old. I've been an educator for 4 years, and it's been a ride. It's been very revealing to me. It's helped me mature. And as much as teachers say that we make an impact, I think the kids have equally made an impact on me. And I think as a product of the impact the kids have made on me and them helping me realize what they need, that's what's motivated me to fill in the gap in education. Essentially, my drive is to fill in the gap that I saw, which is that students aren't engaging in ways that apply to real world skills, right? Mm-hmm. The generic image is in a traditional classroom is one teacher in front of the room giving a lecture, giving a PowerPoint, and the students sitting down listening to the teacher. But in reality, that's passive learning. That's not actively engaging with material, engaging with knowing how to do things in the real world. So what happens is, the way that I see it is that they're being prepared in school in outdated ways for things that are not relevant to the world today. Right? Mm-hmm. If we have something as powerful as flying taxis and Waymo, then why aren't classes engineering kids to think this way in order to make those types of inventions? But then sometimes teachers complain kids aren't prepared, and they complain about kids not being well equipped, but they're not equipping the kids with what they need to think that way to create these innovative projects, these different things. So what I've done is that my first year teaching, it was just, what the heck is this? What is going on? Okay, I need to make sure that the kids understand that there has to be discipline in the classroom, because if you have discipline in classroom management, you cannot handle a group of kids. I was a sergeant and they were the soldiers. That's kind of how I saw it. Like, we got to have order in this place. But although you need to have order, you also need to have a unique mindset to get the kids engaged. So after I had the discipline and the order set, I realized that I was teaching business classes and I was teaching them about an LLC, but I couldn't teach them, hey, this is somebiz.org. This is how you create an LLC in Florida with this website, because I wasn't training them to create their own companies. I was teaching them about people making their own companies versus training them to get on their feet and make their own companies. So I saw that shift, right? I had a shift and I started education wanting to educate students. By my second and third year, I wanted to employ students. So I thought, how do you employ students? How do you teach students to be good leaders, good employees? Like, what does that even look like, right? The reality is that in the market that we're in now, you see Ivy League graduates not even getting jobs. So you actually mentioned vendor partnerships. And I had the CEO of farm stores, which in my town, my community is called La Vaquita, which is the cow. So what it is, it has a logo of a cow. And they sell like grocery store, bakery products. It's like a drive-through. And I met the CEO that came here, and I could tell you that story of how that all went down. That's another story. But essentially, he told me something that stood out to me very much. And he said, I've had Ivy League graduates come work for my company. I've had to fire them. Your students have come to work for my company, and I want them to stay here. So that shift of like, okay, how do you train a group of students that people see as kids, but they have so much potential in them that they could be innovators right now. They don't have to wait
Yeah.
4 years, 8 years to go get a degree, a degree that doesn't fully exist. Like local community colleges like Miami-Dade have done a good job of having a bachelor's in artificial intelligence. But the reality is that small businesses and small, medium-sized enterprises are having trouble incorporating AI into their companies. And the way that I've been training kids in my food lab, they've been hired by companies to integrate AI into their companies.
So you're speaking my language, just so you know it. Like I'm drinking all the Kool-Aid you're throwing at me. I love it. I'm gonna love this. So, but you've just said a whole lot, and I want to unpack it a little bit. Tell us your story. So, you come out of school to be a teacher. You're in Miami. Okay, so you're in Miami. You come to be a teacher. What grade are you teaching?
Right. So I born and raised in Miami,
Uh-huh.
went to school in Clinton, New York, in Hamilton College, all the way in the
Okay.
cold. I had no
All
idea
the way in the
what
cold.
were when they told me you need a jacket. I bought a leather jacket because I thought that was gonna do. And then I froze to death my first week of college. It's just, I can't even make this up. And then I had to get a real coat. Spent 4 years double majoring in film and religious studies because those were my passions, communication and religious studies. In my school was like a lot of history, and I love history. I love learning from the past so you can have a better future. That's how I see it.
Very nice.
And got that double major. I took some classes with the Dartmouth Business Program in the summer, which opened my eyes to, okay, what does generational wealth look like in communities? Because I went to Hamilton College, which is a top school, 15% acceptance rate, and I saw a lot of wealth that I didn't see in my town growing up. And I said, okay, look at all these resources. I saw the inequity between what I was raised in and what's there. And I said, how could these resources and this caliber be brought back to my community in a way that it could expose kids to more passions that I have? And after that business program, I realized, well, an avenue to generate that wealth is entrepreneurship. That's what that business program made me realize with the classes in corporate finance and accounting in those different aspects that I was learning about. And then graduated, I was going to take a job in sales. And then I knew my mentors from high school. They run schools in Florida, and they said, "Why don't you come work for us?" And there's these guys that I've been employed by them since I was about 17 years old in screenwriting and creative endeavors because I've always been the energetic person in the room. So they just hire me to be crazy in their things, and they think I just come up with ideas, which essentially
Yeah.
is kind of what I do. I show up to a place, I absorb it, and then I incorporate innovative projects, and then I have a crazy energetic personality, so it's just a great time. They
Awesome.
hired me for these events, and I didn't realize that I was working for a corporate style culture company doing all these creative things. And they've taken me under their wing, honestly, in the last decade. While I was in college, they also gave me some employment as well, and I used that to pay for the part of college that I didn't get the scholarship for.
Very
And
nice.
then graduate, they're like, come work for us. So that's what I did. I started working for them as a teacher at 22 years old. Didn't
Mm.
know what I signed up for. I just, everybody in my family's like, oh, you love kids. And now I'm like, oh, depends on the day. But, but it was a fun time at 22 saying, okay, I look like a 12-year-old, but let me go ahead and be a teacher. So
Yeah, I'm
I
sure.
began to be a teacher, and I learned to be a sergeant in the classroom. That was my main lesson the first year, to teach kids the foundations, right?
Wait, so how did you learn? I love that expression to be a sergeant in the class. I hate to cut you off, but you've got so much good stuff packed into you. So, sergeant in the classroom, is that something you've come up with, or did you hear that and say, I'm going to adopt that? Did you read about it? Tell me about this, because I agree with you. Unless you establish, you can't. I have a son, right? And so I'm your father first, not your friend. 'Cause I
Yeah,
love you to death, right? I love more than anything in the world, but I'm not your friend. Because a friend, it's not going to do you any good, right? I got to be your father. I got to establish some sort of there's a hierarchy here, right? And if you come into schools, and I've heard this plenty of times, right? Because I've talked to a lot of teachers, you have to establish that. And a lot of teachers, I think, make a mistake their first years. I think they feel it because they come in wanting to be the liked, right? I want to be liked by my students. And I think there's a difference between being liked and being respected. And you've got to establish that respect. So where did you kind of fail into it? Did you have a rough first year that you were like, oh, I better sergeant up? How did that work?
What you're saying puts a quote into my mind. I think it's Machiavellian. It's like, do you want to be feared or loved? And then the answer is you're feared because of how much you're loved.
Yeah.
And the way that you're loved is because you've established that respect, and respect can sometimes look like fear. But what does that really look like in the classroom? It looks like having order first
Mm-hmm.
before having the fun things, right? The way that I see it is that the reason I'm so strict is because I love these kids so much.
Mm.
Sometimes students don't understand that a form of love is tough love because I want them to get better, because I want to see them maximize their potential. But they won't
Mm-hmm.
really see that, especially with my young face, if I'm too nice, because they'll think
Yeah.
that I'm going to slack off. And it's like you said, I learned it through error, personally, in my story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because my first year, I remember one of the first things thinking is I don't want to overwhelm a student, right? I don't know how much to challenge them. And if you see me now, you think I ultra overwhelm these kids because I ultra challenge them, right?
Yeah.
And the trick that I learned over the years is that when you push them, you encourage them, you equip them little by little. You don't always give kids the answer, because sometimes people think that you completely giving the kid the answer is the ultimate thing to do. No, you let the kid figure it out. And by doing that, you love them, but you're with them every step of the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, like the way I describe my method of teaching over the years, how it's evolved. Before, I would give them a floaty, and I would take them from one end of the pool to the other. And now I just throw them the floaty, and I'm like, I'm watching you. I'm your lifeguard. You can figure that out. And they're like, whoa, whoa, what? And then I give them cues like, oh, hold on to this. Think, what's your
Uh-huh.
next step? It's like you're teaching and challenging kids to think in different ways versus just being scared to overwhelm them. Because if you put a kid in a position to push themselves, you'll get so much out of them. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, my personal story, I could relate a lot to what you said. I personally don't have kids yet. Just got engaged, still not in the mindset to have kids though. But
That's you're don't worry, plenty of time. You're good.
the train hasn't started yet.
Yeah, you got plenty of time. You're good. You're good.
Yeah, yeah. And my fiance is Dominican, so he probably wants a whole baseball team, but we're not there
Yeah.
yet. We don't even have a baby
That's
yet. Right?
good.
We're okay. But essentially, it's. I mean, even my mom says that this job has matured you a lot because it's taught me the way that I want to cultivate resilience. That's the word in students, right?
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
kids to come out resilient out of my classroom. I want kids to come out innovating and curious out of my classroom. If you
Yeah.
protect kids too much, or you give them the answer too much, and you don't establish order and structure, which actually it's what kids so much crave.
Gosh, they do. You are, oh my God, you are literally reading from my script of how I'm sitting here like, yes, yes, yesing you because you're right. You're absolutely right. People, when you do hard things, my son and I were just talking about this because he had a crazy night at he waiters, and we had a big snowstorm Sunday night, and he came home. They closed. He came home early, and Monday they wanted him to come in. So he's kind of like, I don't want to go in. It's like 2 feet of snow out here. He'd been digging all day. He's like, I really don't want to go in. He's like, but we've raised him to where he'll feel guilty if he doesn't, right? And not like we guilt him into it. He just has this. They want me to go to work. I go to work, right? I'm not going to fake a stomach ache on a snow day to not go to work. So he goes to work. Everybody else called out. But everybody went into the restaurant because it was Blizzard Day, and they all finally dug out and they wanted to go eat, drink, be merry. So he's almost by himself running the entire floor and wiped out. And I said, so how'd you do? And he said, I made $350. And I went, he's 20, right? And I go, he's going to community college. He's working. All his friends are up partying in other schools. And he looks at me and he goes, when you do hard stuff like that, here I am like, yeah, this is good. He goes, when you push yourself to do the hard thing, it might hurt in the moment, but boy, the sense of fulfillment afterwards, I feel good that I went and did that. And I was like, I think that's exactly what you're saying. Like if somebody drags you across the pool in your noodle and you're swimming, yeah, you don't feel so great about yourself. You might have made it from point A to point B, but did you really or when somebody throws you a hoop and says, put it together, blow it up, figure it out and get to the other side. It may be scary in the moment because you're tread in water and you might know how to swim, but you figure it out and somebody's there watching. You're not going to drown, right? But you get to that other side by yourself through your own will and perseverance and leaning into and through the fear, right? Oh, I'm treading water. But once you do that, bam, that's a breakthrough, right? And the more you can train, I agree, I'm 100% with you. The more you can condition yourself to do that even as you get older, even at my age, leaning into things that make you nervous. When something's fear, run to it. It just, you sleep well at night. I went off on a little tangent. I'm sorry.
No, you have me thinking about something else. I think it's operating out of conviction, right?
Yeah.
It's not that you feel like doing things, it's that you have a duty to do things. And when you have a duty, you just do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think another way that I've done this is leading by example. And I think the students have seen that even without full detail. I think more is caught than taught. Right? I can tell them all I want. You have to be a leader. You have to show up even when it hurts. But those kids saw me an entire year when I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition that my students still don't know what it is. And I've been very in raps about it. But they saw me when I wasn't able to lift an arm. They saw me when I was limping in the classroom. They saw me when I was like yellow in the face because I was feeling really bad. They saw me when I couldn't write for 6 months. And I still showed up to work. That while having an autoimmune condition, not being able to having 5 patches on me before even being diagnosed. And the fact that those kids saw me in physical pain, still showing up every single week, despite of it, they said, we better show up. You know what I'm saying? Like they learned that Miss Alvarez is doing it, even if she doesn't feel good. I should be able to do it well. And I think they saw that grit. They saw the no excuses, right? I tell them all the time, you're 18 years old. There's no such thing as an excuse anymore. There's reason. Don't get me wrong. There's reason.
There's no excuses.
But there's no excuses. There's a big difference. And look at my life. Look at my example. Yeah. And something clicked for them. I can tell them there's no excuses, but when they saw me showing up in physical, severe pain that I almost thought I had to quit my job and I didn't. They said, we better show up.
More is caught than taught. I love it. I never heard that before. More is caught than taught. I love that. I love that expression. I love that expression. I mean, again, just going back. See, you already have a bunch. You already have children. You have a bunch of teenagers.
I have 53.
You have 53 children. You have 53 teenagers. Oh, I had one. Oh my gosh. I had one. I had to deal with one. So I love this. And so I want to talk about Business Food Lab because all that you're saying is everything about entrepreneurship that they don't teach you in textbooks. I'm listening to you, and as a founder myself, and a bootstrap startup founder, dealing with everything, right? Just from payroll to taxes to customers to marketing to sales to having to wear every hat in the beginning and dealing with those mountains and valleys and ups and downs and the roller coaster that is entrepreneurship. It is not a straight line, nor is it a line this way. It is a jagged, crazy. You may have nice little peaks and mountains that you sit on for a moment, but the valleys are right around the corner on your way to the second mountain. And I think what you're talking about. So I love the real world application. So let's get into Business Food Lab because fundamentally, like theoretically, and in terms of how you think and your mindset and your positioning, I'm in 100% alignment with the way that you think. I think that I went to a character education school in Maine. I went to Hyde School. I lived at a boarding school that was leadership, courage, curiosity, integrity, concern. We lived by those. And we were held to standards. We had to take sports. We had to be involved in performing group. You couldn't sit on the sidelines and watch, right? If I was mouthing off, I dug a ditch and buried my attitude in it at 5 o'clock in the morning. And, but so I am right there with you. I think discipline, structure, accountability, autonomy, accountability, those are huge. again, talking to my son, he was talking about his friends. He's like, man, I'm busy. Like I get up, I go to the gym, I have physical therapy. Then I have to go to work. Then I go to classes. Then I come home and I have homework. And my friends are hanging out, and they're up at they're sleeping till 3, and they're not going to class. And I'm like, so which would you prefer? Like, who are you cheating? So tell us about Business Food Lab, because I think that it leads into the experiential component of what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm going to respond to what you just said and segue into the food lab with these two phrases that just come to mind. There's nothing more powerful than lived experience.
Yeah.
When your son lived the experience of being the only person to show up at that job, and then he got the $350 that he loved.
Nice payday. That's a nice payday for a night of work. That's a nice
payday. He won't forget that because he lived it. The fact that these kids built something from the ground up, and they've messed up, they've broken machines that have given me a heart attack at 26 years old. I'm laughing out of frustration. I don't know.
You have to laugh. No, you have to laugh. It's all good.
The things I've seen, the health violations that they've tried to do in this food lab, I'm telling you, putting a glove on a milkshake, I'm like, what is going on here? This is like a science experiment. Like, what are we doing here? And I have a chat. If I were to show you the chat and all the pictures of, I call it Neanderthal moments. They already know. When they hear the word Neanderthal, they're like, what did we do? What stupid thing
nice.
did we do?
Okay.
And kind of my cue, like they're kids, so I play around them too. Like, what Neanderthal? They're like, oh my gosh. They're like, Miss, instead of Employee of the Month, we should have Neanderthal of the Month, because there's just some actions sometimes.
I bet you there's something funny in the Neanderthal Award. I love it. I mean, they came up with that. You ought to surprise somebody with like a Neanderthal award. You could do a little 3D printed like Neanderthal, or like a shirt or something. They'll love it. You ought to just surprise one with one day. Like, you got the Neanderthal award today, my friend.
That's a great idea. We're actually doing a 3D printing project right now, so I just might add that in there, a Neanderthal head. and those kids, you have to lead with humor. You lead.
Yeah.
I lead in a rigid way. I'm very serious. Outside of school, I have a bubbly personality. But I can't be like that in the school. In the school, I do lead with humor, but I'm also very hard on them. But the second quote that came to me, that it's what you're saying, that your son was saying, oh, everybody else is partying or having the time of their life. The way that I see it is that if you do what everybody else does, you'll live the life that everybody else does. If you do what everybody else does not, then you'll get results that nobody else is getting. So the way that I train my food lab students in the business food lab is, we're going to do what nobody else does, so we get the results that nobody else is getting. In other words, it looked like me coming on a Sunday with my diagnosis and staying from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. with students, doing everything, whether it was cleaning, reorganizing. It looked like me staying some days till 6 or 7, bad number choice, but 6, 7 p.m., I can't with that. They drive me. Even my kindergarten niece, I'm like, how do you know this child? Like, I can't. Anyways, but yes, till 6 or 7 p.m.
Yeah.
And figuring out the boba machine, the seals, the temperature for the freezers, the oven, the little details, the bread warmer. It took me coming an entire summer alongside students in order to make this thing happen. So, yes, I was one of the few teachers here that much. And sometimes I'd be one of the last people to leave the building. But it was because of that commitment a year and a half ago, and that level of commitment that I did when nobody else did, to get to where nobody else is right now. Even right now, like, the kids see it in my life, and they see me as an example. And I don't take that lightly, because when kids look up to you, I think that's one of the biggest responsibilities you'll ever have, right? If you take it seriously and if you do it well. So I'll talk more about that after, but essentially this leads to the food lab, because the business food lab provides both lived experience and both a unique platform that teaches kids how to stand out from the rest of the crowd, how to operate with excellence, how to go the extra mile. I have cultural pillars in the food lab where, at this point, I've said it so many times, I sound like a machine, like a broken record, that they repeat me. Sometimes they imitate me and they start to play around too much, and that's where my strictness comes in, and I'm like, excuse me? And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, miss, I'm sorry. But they go, for instance, one of the things that's pivotal in the student run cafe that we have on campus, known as a business
Mm.
food lab, is that there's no such thing as not having anything to do. I said, are you sure you're telling me this right now?
Mm.
Yes, everything's done. And then I give them 5 things to do based on just observing. I've taught them how to be proactive. In the classroom, what you have is kids walk in, they're led by a bell, the bell starts the class, they're told what to do, and then when they're finished, they have free time. That's the most horrendous thing that you could give any single individual as a mindset. There's no such thing as free time. The food lab started as a free time thing for me. If I would have used the amount of free time that I had as a teacher and just wasted it, I wouldn't have built a food lab. I wouldn't have thought of even doing this extracurricular thing that was the food
Yeah.
lab. The food lab became a class after, like it became a set of classes after. But before, in my second year teaching, it was just an idea. And it was my
So
first
tell me about what is the food. Tell us about what it is. So tell everybody listening, what is the Business Food Lab?
Yes, the Business Food Lab is a student-run cafe on campus built by students for students. It's
And what campus is it on? Their high school campus?
Yes, it's on their high school campus at Matterbrickle Academy. And what we did is that we wanted to provide students an opportunity to know what it is to start and run a business. Rather than just learning what minimum viable product is, rather than just looking at the 4 P's of marketing, product, price, place, promotion. No, no, no,
Mhm.
no, no. Let's try figuring out profit margins for menu items. Where are we going to get the items from? Are we doing Costco or should we find another vendor? What is this going to look like? What are you going to sell? What are the profit margins? Is it going to be delivered or does somebody have to go pick it up? All these little logistical details teaches kids to develop the complexities, right? In a traditional classroom, everything is handed to them. In my classroom, they do everything. And I'm telling you everything from baking to selecting menu items to the financials. Every single day they have to handle money. They've handled as much as $3,000 in a day, and having to do the purchase orders and check requisitions for the different checks that we give to our vendors weekly. When it comes to inventory management, deliveries, when it comes to emailing CEOs, when it comes to even something so simple as like being told off by me, right? Sometimes
Mhm.
I had to instruct them, guys, we make acai bowls and they weren't paying attention to the quality of the food being served. And I'm like, guys, we can't make soupy acai. What's going on here? We're not serving soup. And it's something like being told off by me and those little details. Obviously, I put like a little humor and I make fun of it.
But yeah.
But they're like, she's right. She's right.
Right,
I
right.
remember an administrator walked into my classroom when I had 2 whole days. Imagine me repeating soupy acai, like for 2 straight days, talking about this soupy acai. And I put like an errors log. So like all the little details and errors that there was. I remember an administrator walking to my classroom, right? And he's like, you're still telling these kids off? I'm like, what are we gonna do? They have to understand how when a boss gets mad, they're gonna correct them. Now,
Mhm.
and I tell them, I'm like, guys, I'm being pretty nice in the real world. They may be a little mean to you because I disguise it with humor so they could learn better,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But they have to be exposed to being corrected. In the traditional classroom, they're corrected by seeing -3, or they're corrected by seeing a grade. In the real
Yeah.
world, they're gonna be grading you on everything. They're gonna be keeping
Nobody's gonna
there's
the
metrics.
score is the score of, like, especially in businesses, are you selling product? Are you retaining
Exactly.
customers? Well, soupy acai, do they come back?
Exactly.
You ought to ask them, would you eat this? Like, if you were the one that just shelled out your $5 or whatever it is, and somebody hands you this bowl, how do you feel? Like, how do you feel? Like, you going to recommend this place to somebody else? Or do you want your money back?
Exactly. And something so simple like the cashiers, at first they were grumpy. I'm like, would you want to buy something from somebody who's grumpy and not smiling?
Right.
You look miserable. Look happy to serve the food. You make me depressed just by looking at you. What's going on here? Hi, how are you? Good morning. And they're like,
Such
oh,
great skills. See, you can't, that has to be experienced.
exactly.
You can't teach that through a book or a curriculum. You just can't do it. That's lived experience. And I love that you're doing this. So they set up the business food labs. And they're doing everything. They're running the business in teams. So are they working in roles? Is somebody the student CEO? Is there a controller? Is there a marketing? How do you manage it all? Like, how does that work?
Great question. Logistically, the way that it works is that we have a prep period. That's what I've called it. over the year and a half, and it's just stuck. The prep period is the preparation period, the food prep. Essentially, the students figuring out how many Nutella puff pastries, how many tequeños, how many empanadas are we making, how many croquetas. Oh yeah, I'm
Mm.
gonna get you hungry right
Sounds
after
good. Yeah, it sounds
this.
good. I'm already hungry. This is great. I'm coming down. Plus, I'm going to
Of
get out of the
course,
snow. Coming to Miami, get
anytime.
out of the snow.
When the flights are canceled, you're welcome anytime.
Yeah.
Um, how much boba, coffee, all these
Yeah.
different menu items, they have to start determining based on our past demand, what number of product are we going to make. So they make an X amount of product for different things. Every single day of the week, we sell something different. So whether it's
Mm.
onigiri one day, fried rice another day, acai bowls, empanadas, cheese and or ham and cheese or beef, they start determining amongst themselves, okay, what are we selling today? We have standard days where we sell certain things, and how much are we selling today? Then, once they spend the entire period making the food and beverage components, and in
Hmm.
that prep period, I also have an AI and tech team. The AI and tech team works in having ideas to incorporate AI into the business. So this is an initiative we started this year because I see a trend, which is if you don't have AI literacy, you're outdated. That's just it is.
Yeah,
It
for
is
sure.
this and oh, but it's business. But AI has become a substrate of society. It's everywhere. If you don't understand the basics of AI, to the point where the Department of Labor has released an AI framework already for us to understand that hey,
Mm.
any job that you're in, you have to understand how to incorporate AI and what AI does in the first place in order to better make your industry more efficient. So I've
Mm.
told them, hey, in the food lab, let's look at pain points. Rather than doing a diagram on pain points on a piece of paper and turning that in for work, I want you to identify the pain points in the food lab. What are some of the problems that we're having? And I want you to come up with solutions incorporating AI into this. So an example that
Hmm.
I have of that came out of the prep period is that students were forgetting the temperatures and the times to put in things. So for example, I let this mistake happen live, like it was happening right in front of me, and I was like, may I have the patience to allow them to so essentially we make pan de bonos and a student it's supposed to be for 8 minutes and the student put it in for 20 and they came out
Mm.
like hockey pucks. And
Yeah,
I knew
right.
I knew. And I told him, I said, are you sure it's that much time? Yeah, miss, I'm positive. I said,
That's the Neanderthal award.
I was like, I said, okay. I kind of
I'm
just let it.
positive.
I kind of let it. I'm like, okay,
Sure.
positive.
Okay.
When they came out like hockey pucks,
Yeah.
they're like, Miss is great. They almost like bit off their teeth eating it. I'm like, no, it's not great. So it's that simple error of not remembering a recipe and sometimes being lazy enough to check a physical paper binder. So I said, okay, Adrian, let's leave it at that, right? Essentially, the solution that we came up to that is that the tech team and AI team made a chatbot that put all our SOPs, our standard operating procedures, into this customized chat GPT.
Mm.
And they put the whole physical binder of like 200 pages that I had across the year developed for procedures and protocol. They put it in the chatbot. And every single student now has a custom GPT on their phones where if they ever forget a time and a temperature, they're able to ask because one of their co-workers, one of their friends, made that for them. So
Wow.
it's little
Cool.
things like
That's
that
cool. Yeah.
where I want them to be as autonomous as possible. I think in
Hmm.
the traditional classroom, a teacher's overwhelmed. I want the exact number. I counted once because I couldn't believe it. A teacher gets in an hour and a half about 40 questions. Whether it's can I go to the bathroom, where's the
Hmm.
trash can. I already told them, do not ask me where the trash can is. What type of question is this? Like you're supposed to be contributing quality information to me. If I'm your boss, you don't ask the simple questions. You don't ask the same thing twice. You come to me with ideas,
Hmm.
solutions, and things to contribute to this company. That is how you get promoted. I want quality conversations. Don't ask me when the delivery is coming. You know it's 9:30. Don't ask me. The thing is that teachers in a traditional classroom, they're trained to ask for those simple things and to be needy and to need. And I'm like,
Mm.
15, you got this. And when
Yeah.
you start to
Yeah.
see that confidence in students where they can do it on their own, I actually did a survey and recently on the kids to have feedback on this food lab class. And 75% of students said that they could operate the food lab independently. 96% of
Wow.
students said that they feel like a better leader and that they know what to expect of employees, what employers expect of them and how to be a better employee. And 81% of students said that they feel comfortable using AI and knowing how to contribute AI into a business.
That's amazing. Are you looking at, like, so this happens right now at your school?
Yes.
Is it beyond just one location? Are you expanding out? Do you have plans to turn this into because I think this should be in every school. Like every student should have an opportunity to get involved in this, or at least a subset of students that have this like itch to do something different. Do you have aspirations to scale this in any way?
Yes, I do. Actually, we have another school that offered their interest to us. It's still going to open, but it's going to be an innovative hub as well. And they
Mm,
want this model of having a cafe run where students completely do it. And the second branch, to elaborate on the prep period, the second branch is the selling branch, which is the
mm,
students sell what the previous students prepped. They also clean, they organize inventory, they do more tech ideas. They further
mm.
expand on what the prep period does. And because of prep and selling, students have met visitors, to go back to your point, visitors that have been so interested that they want this to carry on to their own schools. We've had people from Spain, from Puerto Rico,
Mm-hmm.
from the Middle East, all over literally the world come. And we've even had Michelin star chefs come to see our food lab. And they've been
Nice.
very impressed with everything that we're doing. And that it was funny actually because I also train students to treat visitors as if they're coming into their house. So I tell them, guys,
Mm-hmm.
visitors come to your house. Your mom bugs you to say hi to everybody. You better say hi to every single individual that comes here because they're not just spectators watching you. They're coming into your house and you have to greet
Mm.
them. So they learn public speaking. They learn how to
Yeah, for sure.
pitch a product. What's their product? The food lab and their actual products that they're selling. I've taught them how to get out of their shell. And interestingly enough, the students that gave me the hardest headaches in a traditional classroom are the best students in my food lab.
Well, that's funny you should say that because I'm listening to How I Built This by Guy Raz. If you listen to the podcast, How I Built This, it's a great one. It's all about founder stories. And so I'm listening to the guy that created Square, right? The payment processing. And when you listen to entrepreneur stories, they all have this thread that they were like rebellious. They don't take well to authority. Like entrepreneurs are not really designed to respond to authority. And so it just reminded me of that because I keep seeing that trend over and over again. They tend to be the rebels. They tend to be the ones smart, but like say, when I'm out of school, I'm going to go start my own thing, or I'm not going to do it that way. They have a rebel streak in them to a degree, which gives them the autonomy to do things on their own. So it doesn't surprise me that some of your like quote unquote harder students have that streak in them that's a little bit of a rebel. That's like, no, I don't take well to authority because I'm going to be my own authority. If that makes sense.
Yes, I mean, and just to elaborate on the harder students, for instance, some of them, it was the language barrier that if I'm speaking English
Mm,
entire class and English not their first language and they're hearing a lot of words that they don't understand, of
mm,
course they're gonna tune out, right? But when it
mm,
comes to the work that we do, human interaction is universal,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
yes, language is a vehicle to that. And I know English and Spanish, so I'm able to interact with them in both languages. And I've had conversations with them. I've connected with them in the food lab in ways I wasn't able to do in the traditional classroom. And I've challenged them. I'm like, hey, you're so great at this. Let's work on speaking a little more English and they're like, Miss, you're right. And you motivate them, right? You got to teach kids what their strengths are to then motivate them to better their weaknesses, right?
Yeah,
You don't want to
yeah.
leave it. The biggest mistake, I think, and this is coming from me. I graduated top 10 of my class in high school. I got a master's at when I was like 23 when I finished my master's in educational business administration. I've done the school side because I'm big on research and doing things that practically apply to better people and systems. I'm a systems
Hmm.
thinker 100%. I actually did a
Good.
personality test and that's what I got yesterday, systems thinker. Go figure. But
Good for you. Systems are great.
yes, but essentially what you want to do is okay, let's empower this kid to better themselves versus just comparing themselves. In a traditional classroom, the only point of comparison is how well somebody's able to regurgitate or reason.
Mm,
In
Hmm.
the food lab, there's so many different groups and stations that people kind of cater to their strength. And then I grow their strength while showing them, hey, you're a little weak on this. Let's bump that up, right?
Hmm.
Here's a partner where you could work on this weakness so you could get better. And the way that these kids have broken out of their shell, I've had students that didn't speak to anybody and are now speaking up a storm. I've had students that didn't know that they were good at organizing logistics, and now that's all they do. And they've also,
Mm.
as a result of that, had to think with a marketing hat, right? In the beginning of the podcast, you said that you had to wear a lot of different hats in the beginning of your venture. That's what I tell these students too. Like, don't be afraid to wear different hats or do different things. When I first started the food lab, I was limited with movement because of the health condition, but I didn't
Mm.
care to mop. I didn't care to stay up and write something. I didn't care to talk to anybody that I needed to talk to. You're
Right.
never too big for anything. If you're too big to serve, you're too small to lead. And that's also
Mm.
a
Mm.
pillar that I have in my food lab as well. And I think that's leveled out people where in a traditional classroom, you're just rewarded if you know how to do good on a test. In the food lab, you're rewarded for finding your strengths and you're rewarded even more for finding your weakness and improving that. So it's a growth
Hmm.
culture in a very different way that resembles the real world.
I love it. And I think a successful founder, entrepreneur also is very self-aware to understand what their strengths are and understand what their weaknesses are, and then bring people around them in a team to fill those weaknesses so that they're together stronger. There's a collective, right? There's a great book by Jim Collins called Good to Great.
Yeah.
And yeah, first who, then what. It's all about who, getting the right people on in the right seats on the right bus. Because anything can happen, but if you got the right team members, it's like that old thing of what's more important, a great idea and a mediocre team, or a stellar team and a mid idea. Well, it's the latter, because you can hand a stellar team a half baked idea, and they'll either figure it out or they'll toss it and come up with something new. But you can hand a great idea to a subpar team and they'll destroy it. And
Yeah.
so I like that too. So when again, this is all lived stuff, right? I think that's an important life lesson to think about. Like, hey, be very self aware. And I've had to figure this out, and oftentimes the hard way over the last 6 years. But I also was in sales for 20 something years. So that gives you a little bit of a mirror to look into as well. Like the scorecard's pretty clean. Either you're closing business or you're not. You can't hide when you're in sales, right? You're either like,
Yeah.
I always like to say the bigger the base salary, the bigger the target on your back in sales. It was like, yeah, I want $160,000 base. Good. Have it. And then walk around like, whoa, with the big target on your back. But so, understanding your deficiencies and being okay with that, and going, no, no, no. It's good that I know this, because now I can bring in Yenesis, who's very good at the more softer side. I might be a more analytical person. Or maybe the opposite. Maybe I'm more of a sales marketing figurehead of the company and I stink at finance and operations. I got to know my numbers, but I don't derive any pleasure out of it,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
some people just are numbers people and they love it and they're strategic that way. And you could say, okay, good, you're my CFO. I love it. I think it's great. So you do have aspirations then to bring this the model outside of your just kind of, you can expand this. Could you teach teachers to do it? In other words, I think the key to that's going to be replicating kind of your role as part of the process, right? Like, without a you, I think the system's going to work, right? But you got to also train someone to execute the system for the students.
You need to train teachers how to have the mindset that I've had and the feedback loop, right? The amount of conversations that I've had with students in order for them to reflect on their mistakes and to better them have been continuous, both on an
Mm-hmm.
individual level and a collective level, right? It's funny you say that. So I'm about to announce it in my school in the next month or so, but essentially I got into law school with an 80% scholarship. So
Wow, nice.
I'm probably off, and I do want to combine innovation,
Wow.
education, and law, which is why I'm going, but I'm most likely going to come back in a different in a more enhanced form. Everything
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah,
I've
so
been
you're going to take
doing.
a little bit, you're going to go off to law school now.
Yes. So
Wow. Wow.
essentially, what
Man.
my administration has been doing is, okay, how do we replicate your mindset to another
Yeah.
tool,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we don't want to lose what the momentum that I built.
Right.
what they're doing is that they're creating a curriculum. So I've met with a company, an amazing company called Ryko, and I've met with the CEO of the company, Riley. And essentially, what we're doing is creating an online curriculum. And I remember the
Hmm.
first meeting that I had with them before talking about, yeah, we should have serve safe certifications on food handling. Yes, students have to know what SUMA is because it's the vendor. Yes, students have partnerships with farm stores, sushi stocking. Before talking about the technical things that a teacher needs to know, the conclusion that we came up to is that the facilitator, like myself, whoever it is next year, has to have an entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
If you just take this role like a traditional teacher, then you're gonna have so much free time on your hands. When I tell you, Scott, that every single day, there's some days that I've come in here and I have nothing on my to-do list. I have a phone on my to-do list I can show you. It's full of dates and then it's full of tasks I want to do every single day. Not because they're teacher tasks or it's not, I need to do my lesson planning. It's, let me email this person because this opportunity could come about. And as a product of that
Hmm.
opportunity, a scholarship could come about. Scott, our first year in the food lab, we had one scholarship awarded to a student based off the royalty and license fees that we paid to a company. This year,
Wow.
I have 2 to 3. The goal
That's
for the
amazing.
next year is to have 6, and then the goal for the following year even more.
Yeah.
So if a facilitator in these innovative spaces has an entrepreneurial mindset and has the goal to grow and scale not just the model but the students themselves, the ROI it's immeasurable. As much as
Yeah.
ROI is a measurable number, the ROI there it's not measurable because it's so impactful in ways
Yeah.
that I can describe to you how 2 years ago I don't recognize these students. I'm telling you, a student that did not speak, that I had to put him over and over again. Caesar, present. Caesar, present. Go, present. Yes, you can do it. Look, you have this to talk about and this to talk about. You have so many beautiful things to say. Like,
Hmm.
you have so many strengths. One day just clicked for the guy, and boom, I said, you're my number one presenter now, you know?
Nice.
It takes an entrepreneur like pruning, like it's like you're pruning diamonds. It's like
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
putting kids under so much pressure that, and the outside it may look like child abuse, but I promise you it's not. It's you're pruning the diamond.
Love it. I love the little bit of look. I love this. You're right. I think, man, you've got something. You've done something incredible. I knew, boy, I knew when I was watching you. So here's the thing. Um, are they actively recruiting for your role? I mean, I want people to come and watch you. Where are you super active? Are you on LinkedIn? Is that where they can find you mostly? Or are you on, I mean, we're going to link to all of you tell me where you want us to go. Where can people find you? Cause you're exceptional. I mean, at your age, my gosh, I was just figuring some things out and I wasn't even close. I mean, where you at for your age, what you're doing is incredible. Going off to law school, I think truly for me, it's the impact you're having with the kids. I admire what you're doing. I have my hat is off to you because you are now creating these. It's beyond entrepreneurship. It's absolute life skills that are going to create well-adjusted adults that can function in the world autonomously with and I use the term happy very loosely. I'm not like carefree happy, but with a fulfillment that is about achievement and the rewards that come with that interpersonally. I just think what you're doing is really incredible. And I wish you could get more students involved in it. Maybe there are other teachers that could reach out to you and talk to you about how to replicate what you're doing there. I mean, I love the fact that you're creating a curriculum for others to do this, but I want people to watch you, follow you, because you truly are exceptional. I mean, it's unbelievable. I've really enjoyed this conversation. You got me fired up. Do you ever so you've been doing this how long? How long have you had a business food lab?
The business food lab has only existed for about a year and a half.
A year and a half. So you haven't had enough time. What is really going to be exciting for you to see, I think, is that email or that text or that phone call or that walk in 5 years from one of your students that's like crushing it. That's like, and I
Oh
wouldn't be
yeah,
here if it weren't for you. Right. And there's going to be lots of those. It sounds like whether or not they're crushing it in business. Let me rephrase that.
yeah.
There are going to be times where you're either going to run into somebody or you're going to get an email and they're going to thank you because maybe it's just the way that they have an outlook on life. I'm a better parent because of you. I'm a better brother or sister, you know, because of what you taught me. You're going to find people that are going to remember the impact that you had on their life. And they're never going to forget you. Your legacy is here. You've already started that. And I think that's going to be really exciting for you as you get older and these kids get older, because you're not that much older than them, right? That's what's crazy.
I'm not.
Like,
I'm really not. They sometimes forget.
Yeah. And, so I think that's going to be super exciting for you to just watch you evolve and watch your students evolve alongside you. But yeah, I've enjoyed this. So let's do this. We're going to wrap it up. Tell people where they can find you. Like, where is it? LinkedIn? Do you have TikTok, Instagram, all of the above? Where can they reach out to you?
I do have, obviously, I have LinkedIn. You'll definitely find me active on LinkedIn because my fiance and I have a routine every morning at 6:30 in the morning. As soon as I wake up, I play the Zip Challenge, and we challenge each other every single day. So I'm checking my LinkedIn every single day for sure.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because that challenge, and I like to read what different experts within AI are doing every single day. AI is exponentially growing, so I need to update myself on that every single week.
Absolutely.
For sure, LinkedIn, my name is enough to find me. We also have a Business Food Lab LinkedIn. We have a Business Food Lab Instagram. It's MBA Business Food Lab. And you're going to laugh at me right now, but let me double check my name on Instagram. I do use it, but
that's okay. Most people find you on LinkedIn and then they can navigate from around there. I think that's great. That's where I found you, and you are active on LinkedIn. Any last words for positivity? I love to take us out on a high note. What do you see? What makes you excited when you wake up in the morning? Where's Yenesis's 24 month kind of outlook in terms of what excites you?
Yes. Every morning I wake up and I think, move things forward. What are you going to do today to make things outside of you better? Like, I think one of the reasons why I was born is to step into spaces and open opportunities up for people and advance whatever room that I'm in, when it comes to people, when it comes to the room itself. So to me, that looks like, how could I get this kid a scholarship? How could I get this kid the opportunity for the job? How can I expose this kid to this passion that I know that they have, but they haven't fully realized it yet? So if I'm moving things forward, then I'm living the purpose that I was born to have.
Nice. Good for you. Well, listen, thank you so much. I've really appreciated this. This exceeded my expectations. I had high expectations, and the bar has now been exponentially raised. You're pretty amazing. So thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate it.